In this video, I'll be talking about the recent changes about Canada's immigration in terms of the number of international study permits that will be issued in 2024. There's been they've made a decision to actually stabilize or to reduce the number of study permits that will be issued in 2024 to 360,000. They've also announced some changes to post-graduation work permit eligibility and also to spousal upwork permit. And then they've also made some announcements as regarding, how this will be distributed to different provinces. So there's quite a lot. And in this video, I'll try to explain all of the points to give you a full picture of, all of the decisions, all of the, when they're going to be starting some of those decisions they've made, and just giving more clarity as to some of the points. And lastly, I'm going to be giving my recommendations, one or two things that you can do in regards to this situation. So it's on news on the 22nd of January 2024, while everybody was just going about their normal duties, of very big news as to reducing the number of study permit that will be issued in 2024. So I will be looking at my computer, just to make sure I get the numbers right and the information. So if you see me looking away from the screen and just looking at my computer to make sure I give the right information. Now, there's been problems with Canada immigration, and it's no news, okay? It's no news. And one of the things that the Canada immigration minister said is that the integrity of the international student system has been threatened, okay? So it seems like the overall goal of international students coming into Canada and being able to have access to maybe necessary housing, healthcare infrastructure, and all of these things, it seems is being compromised. And there's been, if you want to think about what actually caused this, and I'm very glad that the Canada immigration, they are aware, okay, that a lot of colleges, especially, they've significantly increased their intakes in order to drive revenue. So it's about business. It's about how much money these colleges can make. In as much as they provide the necessary education, all about business now, right? So there are more and more students that have been arriving in Canada, according to the immigration ministers, without proper support. What the immigration minister have said is that they're going to put a cap on the number of international study permits that have been approved for 2 years. So it's not going to be a permanent thing. They want to try this for 2 years. And after 2 years, they're going to probably reevaluate and decide if they want to continue the cap or if they want to remove the cap. For that, I can't tell. So in 2024, they are expected to issue only 360,000 study permits. And if you compare that to the number that was issued in 2023, that is about a 35% decrease. Okay. Now, because of some provinces are benefiting more in this revenue generation that are being driven by some of the colleges. So one of the things that they said is that there's going to be a territorial cap, okay, which means the territorial or provincial cap. So which means that there is going to be a limit to the number of study permit that will be approved for each province, So whether Ontario or British Columbia. So I don't know the metrics that are going to use for these to. I definitely, all of the provinces will not have the same. You cannot say Ontario and Prince Edward Island or Newfoundland, to be having the same, limit. So it's going to vary. It's just like what you have for provincial nomination for permanent residency, the quota also differ. Now, what they've actually said is that study permit renewals will not be impacted. So which means if you are already in Canada and you have a study permit, if you want to extend your study permit, it will not be impacted, okay? Now, if you are already in Canada with a study permit and you want to bring your spouse So according to what they're saying here, if they say current study permit holders will not be impacted, probably, I'm not saying this for sure, I'm just saying probably, if you already have a study permit and you are inside of Canada, you may still be able to bring your spouse, whether you're doing college or not. But as time progresses, these information are going to get clearer. So if there's an update to any of the explanations that I'm giving now, I'm going to do a follow-up video to try to clarify. Now, what I've actually said is that for those that are doing masters, whether course-based, research-based, and also PhD programs, they will not be impacted. Now, what they've said is that they will allocate a portion to each province or territory. So it is now the responsibility of these province to give certain quotas, to different colleges and university. Okay, so they said that to implement this cap as of January 2nd of 2022, every study permit application that is submitted to ROCC will also require an attestation letter from the province or the territory. Okay, so they have not really given a lot of details about what this means, but it is, I don't think it's going to be the responsibility of the students to apply to the province, probably. But what they've mentioned is that the province and the territory, they have the responsibility to establish a process to issue this attestation letter to students, and they've given a deadline of March 31st, 2024 for province and territory to kind of look at this. So what I've said is that these temporary measures will be in place for 2 years, and then they will revisit that, maybe by 2025. There are some changes that they've made to the post-graduation work permits, okay? Now, what they've said is that starting in September 1st, 2024, international students that start a program that is part of a curriculum licensing arrangement will no longer be eligible for, I'm going to explain that, for a post-graduation work permit upon graduation. So what this means is that there are some, maybe if you're attending a private college, okay, the curriculum that particular private college is using is being licensed by a public college. So if you graduate from such private colleges, you will not be eligible to get a post-graduation work permit. What this means is that if you are studying in a public college, you will still be eligible for post-graduation work permit. So it's not true that they're going to be stopping post-graduation work permit for everybody, okay? Because if you're getting this post-graduation work permit for people that study these colleges, and there may be an increased number, so that's why they are putting an end to that. So don't worry. So one of the things I will advise is that if before you apply for a college or a university, as the case may be, just make sure that it is a public institution. Okay, just try to limit applying to private universities for now. And another big thing that they've also said is that if you graduate from masters or short graduate programs, you will soon be eligible for a 2 years post-graduation work permit. I think for me, this is a big news, and it's good, right? Because before now, if you do a 1-year master's program, you will only be eligible for a 1-year post-graduation work permit. But moving forward, if you do a 1-year program or a 1-year, those short graduate programs, I mean, I did a little bit of research. The things I found was that those graduate, programs, short graduate programs can include postgraduate certificate programs, postgraduate diploma, all of these certificate programs that are graduate level. Okay, so it shouldn't be an undergrad. So if you do a 1-year diploma or a 1-year certificate program that is considered not postgraduate, you will still be eligible for a 1-year postgraduate work permit. So if you do postgraduate diploma, postgraduate certificate, so How do you know? If you check the requirement for admission, you will see the requirement. If they say you require high school to apply for this certificate program, it means it's an undergraduate level course. But if they say you need at least a bachelor's degree or a form of post-secondary education like national diploma, higher national diploma, and the case may be, then it is a graduate level program. So this is good, right? I think this is good news, okay? Because before now, the length of the post-graduation work permit is linked to the length of the program that you're doing. So if you do a master's program, and imagine having a master's degree and you have this the knowledge and to be able to work in some certain sectors, but because you don't have a longer time for the post-graduation work permit, then there is going to be a limitation. Now, this is a big part that is actually driving people crazy. I know. Now, they said in the weeks ahead, so which means that they have not actually started or mentioned the date that this limitation for spouse open work permits will be. So they said that open work permits will only be available to spouses of those that are doing either master's or PhD. So which means that if you are a spouse of an international student that is doing, either college or undergraduate diploma, postgraduate diploma, as the case may be, you will no longer be eligible to bring your spouse to Canada. This is just the crazy part of it. So I'll be giving some recommendations, one after listening to some of these points. So don't just end the video yet. There are a lot of goodies that are coming in. So like I said, if you are already in Canada with a valid study permit, I don't think you are affected. I think you will still be able to bring your spouse over to Canada, okay? And if you already have study permit approved and you have not arrived Canada, okay? So now that is not very clear. I don't want to lie or anything. So that is not very clear. But what they've mentioned is that current study permit holders. Now, if you are already approved, I think, okay, that you should still be able to bring your spouse if you arrive in Canada. Like I said, I will continue to do more research. If any of the things I'm saying now changes, I'm going to do a follow-up video, okay? So if you already have study permit, there are some people that already have study permit approved now, and they have not arrived Canada, and they're applying probably for spousal open work permit for their spouse to, for it to get approved and then move together. I think if you have an approver already, then you should still be able to apply for spousal work permit if you are still outside Canada and both of you can come together. Okay. So, like I said, things may change. But I think, when they make announcements like this, mostly for people that are going to be applying for study permits subsequently, I think that's, those that will be affected. Okay. There is a reason why people choose colleges other than universities. And I've been talking about this for the longest time. Universities in Canada, they are too strict. In terms of their GPA requirement. Imagine you graduated 5 years ago and you don't have a second class upper, or you don't have an equivalent of 3.0 out of 4.0 requirement. And because of that, universities are saying, you know what, we're not going to give you admission because your GPA is not enough. What is the problem with this? Somebody that graduated 5, 6, 7 years ago, they have gotten quite a lot of experience and they've improved. Now you're going back to, 2000 and, about 5 years ago to say, oh, in 5 years ago when you did your undergraduate, you got, 3.0 out of 5.0. So we don't really think you are intelligent. So because of that, we're not going to give you admission. Instead, we're going to give preference to those that have 4.0 out of 5.0 or those that have at least 3.0 out of 4.0. There are 10 suggestions that are kind of, it's kind of me thinking out loud. So some of them may be expensive and it may not go well with you, okay? So number one, if you're planning to apply for study permit, in months from now, if possible, try to apply as soon as possible, because they haven't mentioned the dates that the limit for spousal open work permit is going to start. So any application submitted now with your spouse is still going to go through. Okay. So if you have all the necessary documents available, try to apply as soon as possible before they mention the date that is going to start. The number two recommendation is that the second thing is that you can apply a loan, right? If you apply a loan, which means you will not be able to come along with your spouse. Now, in as much as the primary reason why a lot of international students go or come to Canada is they want to seek the best education, because Canada offers the best education. Okay. So in the process of doing that, you also want your family to be there during that time while you're studying, so that maybe after studying, you want to go back to your home country, as the case may be, but you don't want to spend, too much time away from your family. We know that Canada has been a country that has emphasized family reunion for the longest time. So this is a little bit of opposite of what they're saying now. And the overall goal is for them to reduce international students, because if you are not going to be coming with your spouse during those 2 years while you're going to be studying, yeah, a lot of people might as well, people that have family first, okay, they might as well not come. Okay, so you can apply a loan, maybe a 1-year program if possible. If you want to do a 2 years program, is okay. And then immediately you finish your school, then you work in Canada for 1 year, you can then apply for your permanent residency. While applying for your permanent residency, you can now include your family. But you might say, Peter, it's going to be 2-3 years before I come, bring my family. Yeah, that's what it is, So there is no other suggestions or no other things I'm going to be saying for now. Just that is it. The third suggestion that I'm going to be giving, it's, if possible, try some provincial nomination. Okay, there are some nomination programs in Alberta, in Manitoba, Saskatchewan that you can actually apply from outside of Canada. So you have to do your research. Okay, go to the province of interest and see that provincial requirement and see if it's something that you can apply from outside of Canada. And another thing is that try to have an express entry. If you have an express entry profile, and just indicate a particular province that you want to immigrate to, if they look at your express entry profile and you have the skills, maybe 3, 2, 3, 4 years of experience, 5 years of experience, and the province see that you have the necessary skill set, they may give you a nomination in the express entry profile, and then you will be able to apply for permanent residency when they give you extra points. Okay, and you can try to, this is really tough. People try to, I know someone that actually got a job, as a nurse in Alberta. And now they've been able to apply, Alberta gave the nomination because they're able to get a job in Alberta as a nurse. They've never been to Canada, but they're able to get a job in Canada as a nurse. And now they were able to do, from Alberta, get provincial nomination, apply for permanent residence, and then they came, as a permanent resident. They're already in Canada now. So that is also another option. But I know that having the express entry profile, you have to get at least 1 year of skilled job experience. It's a lot of work, but there is no other thing I can say now. But just take your time, build your profile and see if you qualify for some of these provincial nominations. And if you're already in another country where you have a master's degree, try to see if you can qualify for the express entry. The scores are really high this period, but just give it a try and see if you have master's process, at least 2, 3, 4, 5 years of work experience, maybe minimum of 2 years. Just check your score. And I've done a video talking about CRS score and what are some of the things that you can do. Check that out. Number 4 thing is, if you have a second class upper, try to apply for masters if possible, okay, so that you'll still be able to come along with your family. If GROE is required, apply. Don't, according to the Nigerian popularity, no grief for anybody. So no grief for GROE this year. No grief for that GROE. You go write them. You will write that GROE and you apply for that masters. Okay. If you have, at least a second class upper, right? Maybe you want on a scale of 5.0, if you have 3.7 out of 5.0, yeah, you can give it a try and apply for masters. You can try to apply for course-based masters because research-based masters, number one, they're very competitive. Number two, a lot of the programs will require you to get a supervisor before you apply. For example, course like, biochemistry, chemistry, molecular biology, microbiology, biology. Some of these courses are mostly research-based and you can't just apply. Even though you have the funds to pay for your tuition, you can apply. You can't apply until you get a supervisor for some of the programs. And for some of them, you can apply directly even without, needing a supervisor. So check that out. I know some of the course-based masters are expensive, but just give it a try. In that case, make sure you kind of work on your statement of purpose. It should be top-notch this period. It's a statement of purpose that when the admission committee read, they're going to be like, we are getting special admission right away. It should be very, very convincing. Okay. And number five, if you can, do MSc in your home country. And then after that, especially for those that have a little bit of low grade for your bachelor's degree, do a course-based master's in your home country and probably take as many courses as possible. And then apply for another master's in Canada. Because when you apply for another master's in Canada, they're going to look at your master's transcript plus your BSc transcript, kind of do maybe the last 60 credits started from your master's, calculate that maybe to like your third and your fourth year in your bachelor's, and then calculate if you're still going to meet that, 75, about 60 to 65, between 60 to 70% requirements for a lot of the master's program, you will be eligible now. The sixth thing I want to suggest, this is very relative, okay? Try apply for a visiting visa, and then if you come with a visiting visa, you can see if you'll be able to get a job, and then maybe apply for a work permit, right? So I think if you are on a spousal open work, if you are on the visitor's visa, if you are on a study permit, I think you will still be eligible to apply for visiting visa for your spouse. Okay, so they can come visiting, and maybe when your spouse come visiting, they can try to see if you can get a job. It's legal, right? In Canada, if you're on a visa and they're able to get a job as get a job as LMIA job, you will be eligible to apply for a work permit from inside Canada without having to leave Canada. But I would advise, please don't sell your properties when you're coming for a visitor's visa, because you never can tell. You may end up not getting the job and you have to go back. So don't sell all your land and house because you want to do a visitor's visa, because if things don't work out, you need to have something to fall back to. Number seven, find a triple college if possible, and you can apply for admission for yourself and your spouse. Okay, and maybe like the Nova Scotia Community College, New Brunswick Community College, Highland College, or Holland College, sorry, Red River Polytechnic, and Northern Light College, Circuit College. Some of these are, a bit of a college on the low side. If I say cheap, it's relative, right? So $12,000 is probably way over the roof for a lot of people, but that's the range of the tuition that we consider cheap. If you see $9,500 all the way to like $14,000 is among the cheapest tuition that you find. So both of you can apply for study permit together if possible. I know this is tough, but for children, I'm not sure if you will still be able to apply for either visiting, maybe apply for visiting for them or study permit if possible. I don't know, maybe as people get to apply, things are just going to get much more clearer. The number 18, I would strongly advise before applying for any of the college or any program moving forward, think about the program that it has high employability rates. Okay, in case you want to stay behind, in case you want to stay in Canada after graduation, and which is a legal thing. So I'm not like advocating, say, oh, study and stay or go back, So it's up to you. But trying to think about this course that I'm applying now, do a bit of search on Google, Indeed, and all that, and saying, what is the employability rate of this course? Is it a high in demand course? Of course, and then make sure the course at least it relates to either what you're doing or your core or what you study. It depends, right? So If you need more information, you can book a one-on-one section with me. I can look through your, profile and then still suggest the best option for you. Okay, so before you apply for program these days, moving forward, think about what is the PRO pathway that is available in this program. What is that? How is that provincial nomination like? Think about all of these things and then plan effectively. If they have, maybe there are some programs, there are some schools. For example, in Alberta, if you study in Alberta, you work for 6 months, you'll be eligible to apply for the permanent residency under the provincial nomination, right? Though it takes a couple of months for that to be possible. So Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, they do have very good provincial nomination program. Even Ontario, they recently, started this the Ontario Provincial Nomination Program, where even though you do a 1-year program, you will be eligible to apply for the provincial nomination, expression of interest and all that under the Ontario government. Before now, it used to be only those that apply for masters that are eligible to, or masters and PhD that are eligible to apply under this stream. Okay. Yeah. So think about that. No, but I think I would say no rush. Okay, no rush. Don't be in a rush about anything. Okay, so take your time and then review all of these things that I've mentioned and see which of them is going to be best for you. Okay, don't just be in a rush to apply now. Take your time. And the last thing I'm going to say, do not give up. Okay, so if this is really something I wanted to do for the longest time, where there's a way, there is a way. So there's always going to be a way. It may take some time, right? It may take some time and more resources, but you have to continuously push and try this as possible. So it may result maybe being away from your family for about 2-3 years before you will be eligible to get your PR and add your family and all that, which is still better than what you have in the UK, because if you graduate in the UK, it may take you about 5, 6, 7 years to be able to get your indefinite leave to remain. So in Canada, you may be able to get a permanent residency within within 3 to 4 years. All right. So I know the scores are really high now and it's really tough and challenging. So probably if there's a reduction in the number of international students, I think the CRS score for PRO may come down. Okay. So that's going to be about it in this video. So if you want to talk to me one-on-one and kind of explain your situation to me, I will look through your situation and see what is going to be the best option for you, considering all of these changes. Okay. Now or never, there's going to be a link in the description. Check out the link, book a one-on-one section. I will look at your profile and suggest the best option for you. If you haven't liked this video, please leave a like. And then if you haven't subscribed, do it to subscribe to this video. And lastly, share with your friends, those that are still planning to come to Canada, they haven't gotten this in-depth explanation and suggestions, please share with them. So let me know in the comment section, which part of this, actually affected you the most, and what options do you have now? Just put 1 or 2 options that you have in the comment section. I'll look at some of the, I'll look at it and maybe suggest a few things to you via the chat. So thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.